So you've probably noticed that in a lot of games, especially horror games, night is black. Like, preposterously black. You cannot do anything without a flashlight, which kinda really sucks, especially if you don't have a flashlight. And if God forbid that thing dies on you at night in my horror game, it's game over, man, pack it in. I mean, you could probably try a free demo of my game if you just closed your eyes. But if you've ever been outside at night, you know that you can still feel your way around. Not just with your hands and your feet, but with your eyes too. This is because our eyes adjust to the darkness, letting us sense our surroundings, sense motion, and a bunch of other cool things, and that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm unblacking the dark. Because yes, the dark is scary, but black isn't exactly the most riveting experience, especially in my game where you need to hunt creatures, avoid obstacles, and navigate. Notice how all three of these were a black screen, so let me run through my ideas. First, the obvious one is to make the game brighter, but as you can see, the game goes from having an atmosphere to not, and more importantly, this doesn't feel like night, it just feels like day, but without the sun, which, I mean, well. Anyway, the second option is to not fully turn off the sun when the night comes. I can leave just enough light for the player to make things out, which kinda works, but to reach that point, I have to leave a stupid amount of light, which once again, defeats the point of night. Now third, I could give the player a light that is always attached to their body. This is actually the solution many other games use, which seems like a good fix, but it takes away that feeling of being in complete darkness. Plus, it only gives the player information on what's directly around them, not about the broader shapes of the area. Like, yes, I know there is grass at my feet because I'm standing in a forest, but what's over there? Furthermore, imagine the player is getting chased by something, he ducks behind a tree, turns his flashlight off, holds his breath, and the monster is just there like, bro, are you serious right now? And the fourth and easiest way out is I could give the player infinite battery in their flashlight, but besides removing an element of resource management from a survival horror game, it also gives the player an excuse to always use their light, even though I want the player to sometimes walk around with it turned off. Anyway, these all sucked, so I just locked myself in a dark room for a while and I stared at the darkness, making notes of what I saw. Now hold on, if darkness in real life actually was a black screen, you'd expect me not to have taken any notes, but I saw a lot of things. Of course, there's a chance that I'm just schizophrenic, but the fact of the matter is that I saw a lot of things. Now, a dark room is not actually the same as a dark forest or a field because the sky is almost always providing a little bit of ambient light. So next, I snuck into my neighbor's garden at 3 AM, and sure enough, I once again saw a lot of things. Some things I liked, others I didn't, so I just took what I could carry, all the while studying the darkness as well. When I got home, I sat down and read about the eye, and I learned loads about why we even see in the dark, which brought me to a goddamn epiphany. We don't lose our ability to see at all. We lose detail in the form of color, depth perception, sharpness, and contrast. So unfortunately, it's not as easy as taking my game and turning the brightness down until you can barely see things. It's about removing detail while still letting the player see. Your eyes don't just turn off because the light is gone, they're still trying. Which is definitely easier said than done, as you can see by the fact that I have said it, but not yet done it. And that's because I don't know what I'm doing, but fuck it, I'm starting anyway. In that dark room, when I pulled out my phone, besides getting flashbanged, I noticed that all the things I saw don't apply to the bright areas. So in order to make this effect, I need to isolate the bright from the not bright in a process known as segregation. I did this by checking how much color is in each pixel, then I adjusted the fact that our eyes perceive brightness of colors differently, then boom, we got luminance. And now we can easily segregate this into the bright and dark parts, which looks super ass, but my computer is loving this right now, because we can already use this to do some cool things, such as making the screen look the exact same as it did before, but now with some unnecessary calculations running in the background. See, what this lets us do is individually control the bright parts and the dark parts. So for the dark parts, I'm gonna go back to my notes and see what I wrote. And I know I wrote this in the dark, but holy shit, this is horrendous. No wonder you guys keep roasting my handwriting. The main thing I saw was a bunch of noise constantly shimmering in different colors, so I'm gonna add that to the dark parts of the image. Now, I actually looked into why this happens, and turns out, based on the one unverified article I skimmed through, our optic nerve has some noise in its signal all the time, but usually when we're looking around, there's so much information to already take in that we don't notice the noise. Unless, of course, there is no other information to take in. And you might have noticed that we can't actually see the noise yet, and that's because we need to make the darkness brighter in a process known as Michael Jackson. And after implementing that, boom, we can see the darkness better. Now, at this point, you might want some of whatever I'm smoking, because fully dark is black. Or is it? Crazy thing, turns out that the color we see when we close our eyes or in the dark is actually a shade of grey known as Eigengrau, also known as Eigenlicht, which is Dutch and German for intrinsic light. Can't wait to pull that one out at the party. Now, in my notes, I also have but beside that, I wrote that we can't see colors, and this is because the cone cells in our eyes, which are sensitive to color, don't function in the dark. Instead, we use rods which don't detect color. Also, I have some great news. I'm finally getting a paycheck! Because today's sponsor is Coursera Plus with its awesome course on Unreal Engine fundamentals, which I think is very cool because the course is actually designed by Epic Games themselves, the company who made the engine. So if there was ever a great resource on learning the user interface, sculpting 3D environments, implementing dynamic lighting using Quixel Bridge, environment composition, material setup, basic audio configuration, it would be this. But hold your horses, because when you subscribe to Coursera Plus, you not only gain access to this course, but unlimited access to over 10,000 other courses on their platform. Now that's a big ass number. And Coursera have some partners which you may have heard of, such as Google, Meta, IBM, Microsoft, MegaHard, okay I made the last one up. Like, this course actually serves as a core component of the official Epic Games Game Design Professional certificate, say that 10 times. Which would be a pretty nifty thing to have, especially if you're interested in a job as a game designer, level designer, or a 3D environment artist. So if you're interested in some hands-on learning on pretty much the most advanced game engine out there, while being able to go completely at your own pace, then click the link at the top of my description to get a discount on Coursera Plus and start the Unreal Engine Fundamentals course today. Now for the really cool effect that I haven't mentioned yet, remember when I said that we have both cones and rods? Well, they can't exist in the same place. The ones that we use in bright places are concentrated in the middle of your vision, which means we can't also have rods there. This leads to a phenomenon where you have better vision in your peripherals than you do in the center of your vision in the dark. Which, come on, that's just begging to be added to a horror game. And I feel like I've been cursed by this whole process because every night when I'm trying to fall asleep, when I close my eyes, my brain doesn't just shut off as it used to because it sees nothing. Oh no. My eyes literally just stay focused and stare at the noisy signal that my eyes send to my brain in the pitch black room. I keep finding myself micro-analyzing the noise patterns in my eyelids at 1 AM and comparing them to my game in my head instead of sleeping. I feel like I'm going crazy. Please tell me I'm not the only one. I'm definitely the only one. Contrast! So contrast is also lost in the dark due to not being able to distinguish colors, which I technically shouldn't lower because I already removed most of the color. But I lowered it anyway. Next, your rods are clustered, so you can have up to 100 rods sending their signal through one nerve, so basically, blur. And actually, this is a pretty important detail, as before, it looked super weird to have fucking 20/20 vision in this foggy unlit field, but with just a smidge of blur, 2.5 smidges of blur, it looks really convincing. And if this looks interesting so far, please wishlist Vermin on Steam, please. I'll get on my knees. Please. Also, we're nearly at 100k subs, and I love big numbers, so maybe you could help out there too. Fine. Please. Now you might be thinking, Wishbone, you sure are making this look hella easy. Good, thank goodness. Because I don't want you to ever feel that suffering I went through when I was still up at 1 AM staring at this spiderweb of math that I can barely understand, thinking that I found the bug, only to look over at my other monitor and see that it's somehow outputting a downscaled, upside down representation of the screen in the color red. But I soldiered on, and there's one thing really missing that I find terrifying. A lot of animals actually emit light. Hold on. A lot of animals' eyes actually reflect light. I've had this idea for about a year now, and I've always been scared to try because I positively have no clue where to start. Then I sat down and cranked it out in about half an hour, so I guess the lesson is if you're scared of doing something, just wait a year. Editing Wishbone here. I actually just realized that different animals reflect different colors of light with their eyes, which is just so awesome. I'm definitely gonna add that. Anyway, onto my main point. Why is my game still tagged as anime? Why? And now, animals' eyes reflect your flashlight back at you in the dark, and honestly, this is my new favorite thing. Just like in real life, I made the range of the reflection be much further than what your flashlight illuminates. So there's a certain distance at which you know there is something looking at you, but your light is not able to reach it yet. Mwah, I'm gonna kiss the chef. It doesn't even matter that it's a scrawny little rabbit absolutely scared shitless of my flashlight. I don't know what it is, and that's enough to terrify me. Also, I learned this from playing around that there's nothing more unsettling than seeing a pair of eyes staring at you at eye level. Oh my god. Now, you might be wondering how this happened, and I just don't really want to get into specifics. Remember how I absolutely exterminated my eyes with my phone screen? Yeah, that sucked. Well, they actually unadjusted from the dark for a while, so that's a pretty cool effect. How am I gonna add it? Then I spent the whole next day bashing my head against the wall, and finally, your eyes adjust to the light. And then, if you go back into the dark, it will be very, very dark for a bit of time. So maybe it's not such a good idea anymore to turn your flashlight on and off during the night, as now you'll be unadjusting your eyes from the dark every time you do that. Which gave me an idea. What if I added lanterns around the map, which you can light up with matches? This way, you can search for lanterns during the day, and later use them as a bit of a safe spot at night. With the trade-off being that the bright light might be so white that it'll adjust your eyes until it cries while you're eating rice with 24 mice while trying to kill your head lice with Italian spice, repeating twice, perhaps thrice. sorry my inner rapper came out, making the dark darker when you finally decide to go back out. So I modeled an era appropriate lantern, I made a match item, and yeah, it does what it says on the tin. It reminds me of Amnesia The Dark Descent with the candles, and just like in that game, your matches are a finite resource, so you can't just go around lighting every lantern that you find. You can also use the lit matches as the shittiest of light sources, and I love details like this, so I made your matchbox open up when you hover over it, displaying the correct amount of matches every time. Why did I do this? Then the cherry on top, some annoying ass insects all around it for some authenticity, and I accidentally made this vibey as hell, like genuinely, this is very nice. So now as we wait for night to hit, we'll see the effect slowly creep in, and eventually, we're in darkness. But you can still feel your way around, especially in your peripherals. Then while out exploring, we can use our flashlight, which will cause our eyes to adjust away from the dark, giving us this sort of tunnel vision. But at least we can spot the eyes of creatures that may or may not want to eat us. And then of course we can chill at this vibey lantern, go back in the dark, and I can't overstate how all these little details make such a huge difference to the experience. And in turn, it's so close to my own experiences of being outside at night, looking for animals with no flashlight. It's not really a fear as much as it is a feeling of being vulnerable. Like, you know there are things out there that have much better eyes than you. But also, there's a huge difference during the day. See, since this effect is automatic, if you go into, say, a dark house, you'll get the same effect. This means I can design dark areas without having to worry about the player getting lost in them, while still keeping the fear of the dark. In fact, I think this makes the dark scarier because just like in real life, your eyes will wander around in it trying to find shapes. Unlike a dark screen, there is information hiding in the noise, and all you gotta do is pay close attention. You will be able to sense motion, you can feel your surroundings, the responsibility is on you not to get complacent. And you know how you can just turn up the brightness in Minecraft all the way while mining so you don't have to use any torches? Well, the only reason you can do that in games is because the dark is literally just a darkened screen, so the full detail still exists and can be regained by adding brightness back in. But in Vermin, if you turn the brightness up, nothing happens because the detail itself is gone. You cannot bring that back, which means you don't need to worry about ruining the experience for yourself if you turn the brightness up. I can let the player choose how brightly they see the dark because it doesn't actually give them an advantage. And trust me, I could go on forever and add all the subtle details, but this is really about capturing a certain emotion rather than going for realism. That's why other games aren't inherently wrong for doing night their way, it all depends on what the developer is trying to achieve. I mean, it doesn't make sense to force Stardew Valley to look like this at night, but for my game, it's the perfect approach, and I haven't seen this done in any other game. So comparing this to how it was at the start of the video, it's literally a night and day difference. It opens the door for so many more interesting experiences that a black screen could never give you. If you find this stuff interesting, please wishlist Vermin. I'm really trying my hardest to make this the best possible experience. And come on guys, 100k is so close, so tell your grandma, dog, that weird uncle, stepsister's ex-boyfriend, and that one friend you have to subscribe. It would be awesome. And in the next devlog, I'll show you how I made hunting so much better. Oh, and how could I forget? Playtests are happening right now for the new darkness system, so you can go sign up for that in the Discord. Alright, well, see you later, wind generator.